Imagine your backyard tonight. A soft river of light curling along the path, glass bottles glowing like captured sunsets. A tiny bowl murmurs with water, driftwood leans into a fairy arch, and jars flicker with quiet constellations. Nothing here was expensive. Most of it was nearly trash. But under daylight, it looks calm and intentional. Under evening, it shimmers like a small festival. Stay with me, and I'll show you how scraps and stormfall and old cans become the most magical corners of your garden. Welcome to Archon Aesthetic Studio, the home of upcycled and magical garden ideas. If you love turning the overlooked into something designer-looking and soulful, hit subscribe. We publish a fresh episode every week. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? I'd love to see how these ideas travel. One, glass bottle glow path, gradient border. Picture a path that seems to glow from within, guiding your steps like fragments of sunlight captured in glass. Bottles once destined for the bin now rise as a border, their bottoms pressed into the earth in a careful rhythm of color. Amber melts into green, green into blue, until the line itself feels like a flowing gradient, part rainbow, part riverbed. In the day, light bounces playfully through the glass, painting the soil with unexpected hues. As dusk falls, hidden fairy lights tucked behind the bottles awaken, and suddenly the path no longer belongs to the garden. It belongs to a dream. There is a humility here. Scraps repurposed, nothing polished, nothing flawless. And yet, the imperfections catch the eye, because each chipped edge and ripple in the glass scatters light differently, reminding us that beauty often comes from what has already lived another life. To walk this path is to feel guided not only by color and glow, but by the quiet wisdom of reuse. Step by step, it leads you deeper into the garden's heart, toward whatever small magic waits beyond. And there, another idea begins to unfold. Two, punched can lantern galaxy. At first glance, it's just an old can, dented and dull, once forgotten in the shadows of the recycling bin. But press a pattern of holes through its skin, slip a small light inside, and suddenly it becomes a fragment of night sky caught in your garden. Each punched design scatters dots of light across leaves and stone, as if the Milky Way itself has wandered down to rest among the flowers. Hung from branches, they sway gently, constellations in motion. Lined along a path, they guide the way like glowing markers of a secret celebration. The beauty is not in polish but in imperfection. The uneven spacing, the rough edges, the story of what the can once held. These scars let the lantern breathe, reminding us that starlight itself is scattered and irregular, yet endlessly captivating. In their glow, conversations soften, footsteps slow, and even silence feels like part of the design. The garden becomes more than a place. It becomes a small observatory of wonder, where trash turns to galaxies. And beyond the shimmer, another vision of magic is waiting to unfold. Three, Basin in basin, tiny pond plus bottle waterfall. In the quietest corner of the garden, water whispers a secret. 2 old basins, stacked like echoes, cradle a pool of sky. Above, a single bottle tilts forward, releasing a clear thread of water that falls with the gentleness of rain remembered. It is not grand, not sprawling, yet in its modesty lies its charm. The surface trembles, catching sunlight and scattering it like coins over the foliage. Each ripple carries away the noise of the day, drawing you deeper into a calm that feels older than the yard itself. Birds arrive first, sipping and fluttering. Then dragonflies hover, tracing mirrored patterns in the stillness. The sound is soft but insistent, a reminder that even fragments, a discarded bottle, a dented basin, can hold the rhythm of a stream. There is no need for elaborate pumps or polished stone. The recycled heart of this feature speaks more eloquently, that water, in any form, is life and motion, and that beauty flows easily when given a chance. From its edge, the garden feels cooler, more alive. And as you follow the trickle with your eyes, the path leads naturally to another wonder just waiting to be discovered. Four, Driftwood Fairy Arch plus Moss Threshold. It begins not with stone or steel, but with wood that once drifted untamed through water and time. Weathered branches, curved and twisted, are set upright, leaning gently into one another until they form a portal. At their feet, moss gathers like velvet, softening the threshold and whispering that you are about to cross into someplace different. Step beneath, and the air itself seems to shift. The arch does not shout grandeur. It hums of patience, of wood polished by seasons, of stories carried on waves and winds. Each knot and scar glows in the sunlight, becoming not a flaw but a signature, proof of nature's authorship. Children may see it as an entry to fairyland. Adults may feel it as a momentary pause, where imagination overtakes routine. And in truth, both are correct. For an arch is never only wood. It is a frame for the unseen. It marks the place where ordinary ground gives way to wonder. Beyond the mossy threshold, the garden awaits, carrying the promise of yet another transformation. One born not of grand design, but of quiet magic stitched together by driftwood and time. Five, Mirror Portal Corner, Borrowed Scenery. At the edge of the garden, a mirror waits, not merely to reflect, but to suggest another world just beyond reach. Its frame, dressed in creeping green and a playful border of bottle-cap mosaics, blends with the foliage until it feels less like furniture and more like a secret passage. Stand before it and the garden doubles. Branches bend into themselves, flowers seem endless, and a small backyard suddenly stretches toward infinity. The illusion is simple, yet it holds an ancient magic. The idea that space can be borrowed, that beauty need not be confined by fences or walls. By day, sunlight bounces through, carrying extra light into shaded corners. By night, lanterns flicker twice, once in reality, once in reflection, making the air hum with quiet abundance. Children may pause to wave at their own doubled selves, while grown hearts find comfort in the thought that even small places can hold vast horizons. The mirror does not only expand the view, it expands possibility. And as you step away, drawn deeper into the multiplied green, you sense the next corner of the garden holding another surprise, waiting to reveal itself in turn. Six, canlid steppers and thyme fragrance cracks. Every step becomes a story when the ground itself greets you with fragrance. Here, the path is lined not by expensive stone, but by the humble circles of recycled canlids pressed into the soil. Their dull sheen catches the light like coins left behind, hints of silver and bronze that feel both modest and magical. Between them, time spreads its tiny green carpet, filling the cracks with softness. Each footstep releases a sigh of scent, sharp, sweet, grounding. So the journey is never silent but accompanied by invisible notes of perfume. What was once waste now guides the way, reminding us that beauty often rests in the overlooked, and that the smallest details can transform a walk into ritual. There is a rhythm in it: metal, herb, light, shadow. As if the garden itself were composed like music, where fragrance is the melody and texture the harmony. In the evening, when lanterns glow and cool air stirs, the thyme's perfume deepens, blending with night air, inviting lingering rather than haste. This path does not lead only to another part of the garden. It leads you into a state of presence, where every step is softened by green and every breath carries a trace of the earth's generosity. And just ahead, another corner of wonder is waiting to reveal itself. Seven, branch pergola frame plus bicycle wheel trellis. Sometimes grandeur grows not from polished beams, but from the honesty of fallen branches and forgotten wheels. Here, a pergola rises from rough trunks lashed together, their bark still textured with the memory of the forest. At its side, a bicycle wheel, once spinning on pavement, now stands upright as a trellis, its spokes catching climbing vines like a net designed for green. The effect is at once humble and majestic. Overhead, branches create a shifting canopy of light and shadow, dappling the ground in quiet patterns. The vines climb eagerly, weaving themselves through wood and metal, as if nature herself were repairing and reclaiming what once was discarded. Sit beneath this frame and it feels less like shelter and more like an embrace. The imperfections of each stick, the rust on the wheel, the unevenness of construction, all add character that no store-bought pergola could replicate. It becomes a story you can walk under, of journeys past, of objects reborn, of how beauty comes from use as much as from design. And when the evening lights flicker through leaves and spokes, the structure ceases to be a pergola alone. It becomes a portal into a rustic dream. Just beyond, the garden whispers of yet another transformation waiting to be found. Eight, jar fireflies path stakes. At dusk, when the garden holds its breath, the first glimmers appear. Jars, clear and ordinary by day, awaken as night falls, their tiny lights dancing within like captured fireflies. Mounted on slender stakes, they line the path not as strict guides but as companions, soft, flickering beacons inviting you deeper into evening. Each jar holds a fragment of wonder, glowing without wires, without fuss, just a simple magic born from what once held jam or pickles. The glass bends the light into halos, scattering it across petals and leaves until the entire path seems sprinkled with stars. Children chase the glow with wide eyes, and even grown hearts pause, reminded of summer nights where fireflies stitched constellations low to the earth. By day, they are modest, just jars with lids, waiting. But by night, they transform the garden into a place of quiet theater, where every step feels like entering a story. There is no spectacle, no extravagance, only small lights, recycled, reframed, carrying warmth into the dark. And as you follow their glow forward, you sense that beyond their gentle trail lies yet another creation of light and texture, waiting to be revealed. Nine, Pebble-Cap Mosaic Coasters for Pots. Sometimes beauty lies not in towering structures, but in the smallest circle beneath your feet. Pebbles gathered from walks, bottle caps once tossed aside. Together they form a simple mosaic, a stage for pots to rest upon. Each coaster is a tiny world. Stones pressed tight like riverbeds, metallic caps flashing like jewels hidden in soil. Placed beneath clay or terracotta pots, they do more than protect the ground. They lift the vessels slightly, letting air move, letting roots breathe. But beyond the practical, there is poetry. The shimmer of caps catching sunlight, the smooth stones grounding the piece in Earth's rhythm. Every coaster tells a quiet story, of evenings spent arranging colors, of finding beauty in what others ignore, of the joy that comes when fragments align into patterns. And as the day warms and shadows stretch, the pots seem to float on circles of crafted light, small pedestals honoring life growing above. It is a reminder that not all transformation must be grand. Sometimes the garden's soul shines brightest in its smallest details. And just beyond these humble mosaics, another rustic idea is ready to surprise the eye. Ten, Driftwood Spheres on gravel pads. In the garden, not every shape must follow the straight line of walls or paths. Sometimes the eye longs for curves, for circles that soften the rigid. Driftwood, gathered and bound into spheres, answers that longing. Their surfaces tell stories of rivers and tides, each piece weathered, twisted, marked by time. Placed upon gravel pads, the spheres seem to hover, roots of trees turned into celestial orbs, earth transformed into sky. Sunlight slips between their gaps, throwing lace-like shadows onto the stones, patterns that shift with each passing hour. They are sculptures born of accident and patience, where no two lines meet perfectly, yet together they hold harmony. By day, they stand as rustic monuments, grounding the garden in quiet strength. By evening, when lantern light glows nearby, their hollow frames catch the glow and scatter it, as if holding captive a fragment of fire. They remind us that beauty is not always planted, watered, or pruned. Sometimes it is simply framed, elevated, and left to speak in its own tongue. Beyond these wooden orbs, the garden hints at still more inventions, where nature's fragments are given shape and the ordinary bends gracefully into art. 11. Crate shelf tiny garden, palette offcuts. Out of discarded crates and pallet scraps, a garden wall begins to rise. Each wooden box, once rough and forgotten, now becomes a frame for life. Succulents nestled like jewels, moss tumbling over edges, miniature tools resting as if left behind by invisible caretakers. Stacked in layers, the shelves create a rhythm, an architecture of simplicity where every opening offers a stage for something green. The grain of the wood still tells its story. Nails once hammered, where the stains, the marks of use. Yet these imperfections, rather than hidden, are celebrated, making the whole structure feel lived in and true. In the soft light of afternoon, leaves spill outward, their colors shifting against the neutral wood, while shadows trace lines across the crates like brushstrokes in a painting. Children may imagine fairy homes tucked inside. Adults may see practicality in vertical space reclaimed. Both are correct, for this is a garden within a garden. Small, modular, endlessly adaptable. And as evening falls, lanterns placed inside the crates glow softly, turning the humble stack of boxes into a tower of warmth. From scraps to sanctuary, the crates remind us, every fragment of wood can hold life again. Beyond this vertical garden, the path leads to another rustic treasure waiting quietly in the green. Tin bucket bubbler, no visible wires. An old bucket, once dented and forgotten in a shed, finds new voice when filled with water and given a gentle breath of motion. The galvanized tin, with its softened shine, now becomes a vessel of sound. Water bubbling up quietly, spilling in circles, singing of calm. There are no wires snaking across the soil, no machinery on display. The magic hides within, simple and unobtrusive, as if the bucket itself had learned to murmur. Around its rim, moss and small stones gather, softening the metal's edge until it feels like it has always belonged. Birds dip their beaks, butterflies hover briefly, and the surface trembles with ripples that catch sunlight like fragments of silver. This bubbler does not roar, it hums. Its quiet rhythm cools the air, turning even the smallest corner of a garden into a retreat. At night, lanterns nearby flicker against the tin, doubling the shimmer, so the sound and light mingle like a song. It reminds us that beauty often arrives not from invention, but from rediscovery, that what once carried water for chores now carries peace for the soul. And beyond this quiet fountain, the garden holds still more ways of turning scrap into serenity. Bottleneck curtain for light play. When sunlight meets glass, even fragments can paint the air with color. Here, old bottlenecks, cut, smoothed, and strung, become a curtain that sways in the breeze. By day, each piece catches light and bends it, scattering glimmers across soil and stone as though rainbows had been gently shaken loose. The curtain does more than decorate. It divides space softly, creating a threshold that feels both open and enclosed. Step through it, and you cross into a new mood of the garden, as if glass itself were whispering a welcome. The imperfections of the bottles, tiny bubbles, uneven shades, only deepen the magic, ensuring no two reflections ever fall the same way. In the afternoon, When the sun leans low, the curtain glows like a river of gems, and shadows dance playfully across moss and petals. At night, lanterns nearby cast back a softer shimmer, the glass reflecting warmth instead of fire. What once was waste glass now lives as a chorus of light and motion, turning air itself into a canvas. It is a reminder that even broken vessels can shine again, and that beauty often comes not from perfection, but from the way we allow light to pass through. Beyond this curtain, the garden's story continues, ready for the next surprise. "14. Rope-wrapped tire Pouf, outdoor oil finish." What was once a tire, black, heavy, cast aside, now rests at the heart of the garden as a circle of comfort. Wrapped in coarse rope, its surface softens into texture that feels handmade, timeless. The rope, treated with outdoor oil, glows warmly under sunlight, its fibers carrying hints of earth and sea. Set low to the ground, it invites you not only to sit, but to linger. It is a seat, a table, a pouf, its role shifting as easily as the shadows that move across it through the day. The imperfections of the rope, the subtle dents of the tire, become part of its story, evidence of a second life granted with purpose. Placed among rustic chairs or by a fire bowl, it blends without shouting, offering a humble grace. And when evening comes, the pouf catches lantern light, its circles reflecting the day's last warmth, holding memory as much as function. Here, utility becomes poetry, and waste becomes welcome. For in this simple seat lies the reminder that even the most ordinary objects can, with patience and vision, turn into anchors of gathering and rest. Beyond the pouf, another vision waits, carrying the rhythm of reuse and renewal further into the garden's story. "15. Fallen branch obelisk for climbing peas." Out of fallen branches, something new reaches skyward. Tied together in a simple frame, the wood becomes an obelisk, rough, unpolished, yet purposeful. Around it, tender pea vines spiral upward, their green tendrils searching for a hold, turning decay into ascent. The structure is not perfect. Branches bend unevenly, knots jut out, bark still clings in patches. But in these imperfections lies strength, a natural honesty that no factory-made frame can mimic. As sunlight filters through the lattice of sticks, shadows fall in geometric patterns across soil, and the peas climb higher, weaving themselves into the story of renewal. It is a partnership. Wood that once fell now stands tall again, offering its frame. Plants that once sprawled now rise with grace, offering their blossoms and pods. Together they form a living sculpture, half garden, half architecture. In the stillness of the afternoon, you can hear the whisper of wind through leaves, the creak of branches holding steady. This obelisk is more than support. It is a symbol that even what has fallen can rise again, and that growth often comes from embracing what seems broken. And as you step past it, another rustic marvel waits, carrying the rhythm of nature's endless renewal. "16. Dry creek from rubble plus rounded pebbles." There is a beauty in rivers, even when no water runs. A dry creek wins its way through the garden, built from rubble and rounded pebbles. Stones that once lay forgotten, now shaped into the memory of a stream. The edges are rough, jagged rubble standing like miniature cliffs. Within them, smooth pebbles gather, their colors shifting under the sun. Grays like clouds, browns like earth, whites like foam. Though dry, the bed carries the illusion of flow, a ribbon of stone that seems ready to glisten with the first drop of rain. By day, the creek draws the eye, leading the gaze deeper into the garden. By night, lanterns along its path turn the stones into sparks of quiet light. Even in stillness, it speaks of movement, of water once traveled, of time's endless shaping hand. This dry creek is not only decoration, it is a bridge between past and present. Broken rubble finds dignity again as boundary, rounded pebbles find purpose as rhythm. Together they whisper that even absence of water, of perfection, can become presence when framed with care. And just beyond its winding line, another rustic transformation waits, ready to surprise those who wander further. "17. Claypot Tower with Trailing Succulents." From the earth it was shaped, and back to the earth it gives. Clay pots, once plain vessels, now stack skyward in playful balance, leaning just enough to suggest motion. From their rims spill cascades of succulents, green streams tumbling like water frozen in time. Each pot, tilted slightly, becomes a stage. Some cradle rosettes with leaves like sculpted stone, others overflow with tendrils that reach downward, touching the air as though searching for soil again. Warm terracotta and cool foliage weave a harmony of tone, earth and life entwined. The tower stands not as a monument of precision, but of imagination. Its slant and stagger speak of hands that dared to tilt the ordinary into delight. By morning, dew clings to leaves, glinting like gems. By afternoon, shadows play across the spiraling forms. And by evening, lanterns nearby turn the tower into a glowing totem of green and clay. Here, in this vertical dance, the garden reminds us that growth can move upward, sideways, downward all at once. That what we build need not be rigid to be beautiful. And beyond this playful tower, another vision waits, another secret ready to unfold in the quiet corners of the garden. "18. Lantern Caddy from Scrap Wood." From the leftover scraps of wood, a carrier is born, not for tools, but for light itself. A simple caddy, rough at the edges and soft with age, becomes the vessel for lanterns. Inside, glass chimneys glow with flame, their warmth magnified by the wood's weathered frame. Set upon a table or carried to a corner of the garden, it transforms any space into a scene of gathering. The caddy's handle bears the weight of evenings spent outdoors, meals by firelight, quiet talks under stars, laughter softened by the glow. Every nail and joint tells of reuse, of small pieces joined to hold something larger than themselves. By day, the caddy rests humbly, its wood marked by old lives, once part of crates, perhaps, or pallets. By night, it awakens, scattering light across gravel paths and mossy stones, creating pockets of warmth that beckon and linger. This lantern caddy is more than an object. It is a ritual waiting. Lift it, Light it, let it guide the night. In its glow, the garden finds intimacy, and what was once scrap becomes the keeper of stories. Beyond its lighted arc, yet another rustic creation waits to continue the tale of renewal. "19. Brick and bottle edge planters. Borders do not always divide. Sometimes they hold together with beauty. Along the edge of a garden bed, rough bricks rise, steady and grounded. Between them, glass bottles stand inverted, their necks hidden, their bases catching the sun like jewels set in earth. The contrast is striking. Brick, heavy and solid, speaks of permanence. Glass, smooth and translucent, whispers of light. Together they form a dialogue, one anchoring, one brightening. Plants lean gently against this border, herbs spilling over, flowers brushing against the glass. Turning the edge into more than structure, it becomes stagecraft. Each bottle tells its story, once at a table, now at the root of thyme or rosemary. Each brick too, perhaps chipped or weather-stained, adds a voice to the chorus of reuse. When afternoon light strikes, the bottles glow softly, casting patches of green, amber, or clear shimmer across the soil. By evening, when lanterns are placed nearby, the glass catches the flame, magnifying it so the border itself glimmers. Practical, yes, it keeps beds tidy, roots protected. But more than that, it reminds us that boundaries can be invitations too, lines that draw us in rather than shut us out. And beyond this rustic edge, another creation waits, ready to carry the story of transformation further into the garden. "20. Moss-lined basket pond. Sometimes water finds its home in the most unlikely vessel. A simple woven basket, once meant for harvest or storage, now cradles a pocket of stillness. Its walls are softened with moss, velvet green pressed gently along the weave, until the basket itself seems grown from earth. Within, water gathers, clear, reflective, alive. Tiny leaves float lazily, dragonflies may pause at its rim, and sunlight scatters across its surface like glass broken into stars. It is not a pond of grandeur but of intimacy, a small mirror in which the garden sees itself. The moss, damp and fragrant, blurs the boundary between craft and nature. It holds the water in place as if protecting a secret. By morning, dew adds to its shine. By evening, lantern light deepens its mystery, turning the humble basket into a vessel of quiet magic. There is a lesson here, that beauty does not demand scale. Even the smallest pool can reflect the sky, even the humblest container can hold wonder. In this moss-lined pond, time slows, and every ripple feels like a whispered invitation. Beyond it, another rustic idea waits, one more transformation in the endless dialogue between garden and imagination. "21. Stone and Can Lantern Tower. From stone and scrap, a beacon rises. Rough rocks, stacked with steady patience, cradle hollow cans pierced with patterns, stars, swirls, circles cut by hand. When the sun fades, each can glows from within, and the tower becomes alive with light that seeps through its skin, scattering delicate shapes across soil and leaves. By day, it stands a sculpture, stone anchoring, metal gleaming faintly, the textures speaking of weight and resilience. By night, it transforms into theater, flames or soft bulbs glowing inside, patterns trembling with every flicker, painting the garden with shifting constellations. The cans, once tossed aside, now hold starlight in their bellies, while the stones root the glow firmly to the earth. Children may see a castle, adults may see a lighthouse, but all who linger feel the pull of its warmth. It is a reminder that beauty can be built from opposites, hard and soft, dark and bright, discarded and reclaimed. This lantern tower is not only light but symbol of guidance, of transformation, of gathering. And as its glow fades into the quiet of night, the garden whispers forward, leading you toward yet another rustic wonder waiting in the shadows. (22) Hanging Teacup Bird Feeder. An old teacup, once part of morning rituals, now dangles like a charm in the garden air. Its porcelain surface gleams under the sun, patterns faintly faded from years of use, yet still delicate, still elegant. Inside, seeds lie waiting, a quiet invitation to the winged guests who bring life and song to the yard. Suspended from a branch or hook, the cup sways gently in the breeze, spilling light across its curves. Soon, a sparrow arrives, then perhaps a finch, each pause of wings turning the garden into a stage of fluttering grace. What was once a vessel for tea now pours out nourishment of another kind, sustenance for the wild, and joy for the eyes that watch. The transformation is simple, but its magic lingers. Every visit of a bird adds movement, every chirp adds melody. The feeder becomes more than decor. It is a bond between human and nature, porcelain and feather, silence and song. As evening descends, the teacup glows faintly in the last light, holding memory in its hollow. And beyond its gentle swing, another rustic creation waits, ready to reveal how even the smallest relics can take flight again. (23) Ladder Shelf Herb Drying Rack. Against a garden wall rests a ladder, its rungs no longer for climbing but for cradling harvest. Bundles of rosemary, lavender, and thyme hang in neat rows, their fragrance drifting softly into the air. The wood of the ladder is worn, its surface kissed by seasons, yet it carries this new duty with quiet grace. Each bundle tells a story of morning gathering, of hands that tied stems with simple twine, of patience as the herbs surrender their moisture to the breeze. Sunlight filters through leaves, painting shadows on the ground like delicate lace. Birds pass, curious, while the wind stirs the herbs into a gentle rustling, as if whispering recipes from old kitchens. This drying rack is not only practical, it is symbolic. It bridges garden and table, growth and nourishment. A rustic ladder becomes a keeper of flavor, of memory, of future meals shared with warmth. And as the day turns golden, the herbs sway gently in rhythm with the earth's breath, reminding us that even the humblest structures can hold abundance. Beyond this ladder of scents, the garden reveals yet another form of reinvention, waiting to be discovered. 24. Driftwood Fairy Arch. Two pieces of driftwood meet, and in their embrace, an arch is born. Weathered by water, polished by time, their twisted forms lean together like guardians of a hidden world. Through the arch, a simple path becomes an entrance, an invitation to wander into a place where imagination stirs. The wood carries scars of tides and storms, yet here it frames peace. Moss clings to its curves, vines climb eagerly, and in the evenings, fairy lights may trace its lines, turning it into a portal of soft glow. Children may pass beneath and whisper of fairies. Adults may pause, sensing the gentle weight of memory in its form. Each knot, each grain tells a story of survival, now woven into the garden's tale. The arch does not demand grandeur, it transforms by presence alone. To walk beneath is to feel transition, from one space to another, from ordinary to enchanted. As the wind rustles through its gaps and sunlight filters in fractured beams, the arch stands as a reminder. Nature's remnants can build gateways, not walls. And just beyond this driftwood threshold, the garden holds yet another secret, ready to be revealed. "25. Pebble Mosaic Patio." The ground itself becomes canvas, and stones the brush. Each pebble, smooth and time-worn, finds its place in a greater pattern, until the patio blooms not with flowers, but with design. Spirals suggest motion, circles suggest eternity, and lines guide footsteps as if along a path of memory. Bare feet find coolness in the morning, warmth in the evening, each step a reminder of the earth's patience in shaping stone. Sunlight shifts across the mosaic, bringing new rhythms to its forms. Glints on white pebbles, shadows deepening between darker ones. The patio becomes alive, not static, breathing with the day's light. This mosaic does more than pave. It tells a story. Stones gathered from rivers, beaches, or old garden beds now stand together in unity, their differences woven into harmony. Guests who gather here feel grounded, as if seated not just on earth, but within its art. And when night falls, lanterns scatter across its edges, turning the patterns into constellations underfoot. The patio whispers that beauty can lie not only above us in the sky, but beneath us, in the humble stones that wait to be arranged with care. "26. Rustic Tool Shed with Green Roof." In the corner of the garden stands a shed, but its crown is not of tile or shingle, it is of earth itself. From its wooden roof sprouts moss, succulents, and grasses, weaving a tapestry that softens edges and blurs the line between building and nature. The walls are weathered, marked by seasons, tools leaned carelessly, baskets stacked nearby. Yet the roof lives, breathing, shimmering in dew, alive with small insects and the rustle of green. It feels less like a structure imposed on the garden, and more like a secret dwelling that grew from it. In summer, blooms scatter across its top like embroidery. In autumn, golden tones ripple as leaves fall around it. Winter cloaks it in stillness, but even then, the moss remains, a quiet keeper of life. The shed holds shovels, pots, and memory, Yet its green crown tells a deeper story, that utility can be beautiful, that even the humblest shelter can carry a garden upon its head. It is a dwelling for tools, yes, but also for imagination. To glimpse it is to believe that every wall could soften, every roof could bloom, and every corner of a yard could whisper back to nature. "27. Recycle tire pond with stones." From what once rolled along roads, a circle of stillness emerges. An old tire, no longer chasing distance, now rests in the soil, reborn as a pond. Its dark rim is softened with stones, each rock placed like punctuation in a sentence of calm. Within its round embrace, water gathers, a mirror of sky and leaf. Lilies drift lazily, dragonflies touch the surface, and tiny ripples carry the echo of life. The rubber, once built for speed, now holds stillness, a transformation both humble and profound. By day, the sun warms the stones, their reflections dancing across the water's face. By night, lanterns or moonlight turn the pond into a well of silver, where shadows and stars mingle. Birds may pause to drink, frogs may find a home, and the garden gains a pulse of quiet water. This tire pond is not hidden, it is celebrated. Its message is clear: even what is cast aside can cradle beauty. With patience and vision, waste becomes wonder, and the earth welcomes it back. And as one pauses by its edge, listening to the faint trickle or watching the shimmer, the garden whispers forward, toward the next rustic reinvention waiting to be uncovered. "28. Wine crate vertical planter." Once vessels of vintage bottles, now vessels of living green. Wine crates, with their sturdy boards and stamped names, rise one upon another to form a wall of growth. Each tier becomes a stage, herbs sprouting with fragrance, blossoms tumbling in cascades of color, succulents nestled in corners like quiet ornaments. The crates lean into one another, their wood seasoned by time, their imperfections turned into charm. Where once they held celebration in liquid form, now they hold it in leaf and bloom. Morning light paints the planks gold, evening shadows weave among the plants, and the structure shifts gently between practicality and poetry. This vertical planter does more than save space. It transforms a blank wall into a canvas, a forgotten corner into a story. Guests read the names faintly stamped on the wood, and beside them see rosemary, basil, or marigold spilling out, an old world blended with new growth. It is a reminder that containers, like people, can live more than one life. In these wine crates, the garden climbs upward, lifting green into the air, and hinting that even the smallest corner can rise into abundance. Beyond this wall of rebirth, another rustic surprise waits to be revealed. "29. Mirror-in-frame garden illusion." At first glance, it seems the garden stretches beyond its borders, spilling into a world unseen. A weathered frame leans against the wall, but instead of art on canvas, it holds a mirror. Within it, the garden repeats itself. Trees doubled, flowers multiplied, sky caught and stilled. The illusion is gentle yet profound. A narrow yard feels wider, a shaded corner feels brighter. A simple path becomes a journey without end. The frame, aged and rough, lends authenticity, as if it were a window salvaged from an old farmhouse. In its glass, imagination finds space to wander. By day, sunlight plays across the surface, merging reflections with reality until one cannot tell where garden ends and vision begins. By night, lanterns shimmer in its depth, turning the mirror into a portal of golden echoes. This framed illusion is more than trickery, it is poetry of space. It teaches that limits are only what we choose to see, that with reflection, boundaries soften. In the mirror, the garden becomes infinite, reminding us that beauty can be doubled, not by addition, but by perspective. Beyond its quiet enchantment, yet another rustic idea waits, ready to continue the garden's story of transformation. "30. Compost bin hidden in rustic screen." Not all beauty is meant to be seen. Some hides its work beneath the surface. In the garden's quiet corner rests a compost bin, but the eye does not find waste. It finds a rustic screen of woven willow or reclaimed wood. Vines climb along its frame, softening edges until it feels less like concealment and more like design. Behind the panels, nature continues its alchemy. Leaves, peels, and clippings turn slowly into soil rich with promise. The air carries a faint, earthy warmth, a reminder that every ending in the garden is a beginning in disguise. Yet to visitors, the screen is simply another accent, textured, natural, harmonious with its surroundings. This hidden compost speaks of balance, utility wrapped in beauty, function softened by artistry. By day, sunlight dapples across its wooden face. By evening, lanterns nearby cast long shadows, and the structure hums quietly with purpose. It tells us that sustainability need not shout. It can whisper, disguised as charm. Even what is unseen nourishes what is visible, and the garden thrives because of it. Beyond this hidden heart of renewal, the garden reveals its final gestures, closing the circle of transformation with grace. If one of these ideas sparked your next corner of light, like the video and share it with a friend who saves bottles just in case. Comment your favorite transformation and what you'd like to upcycle next: cans, branches, or driftwood. I'll pin helpful resources and reply with tips. Until next week, may your evenings be lantern-lit and wonderfully unhurried.